this is all you have to say? Eh? This is how you repay me after everything I've done for you. I picked you up when you had nothing. Nothing, not even transport to go home. Her eyes didn't leave him. Young lady, let me remind you, he said, pointing at her. I'm not just anybody. I'm a pastor in my church. In fact, I was recently made a bishop. If a word of this nonsense gets out, Farida, I will not only deal with you spiritually, I will mess you up physically and legally. I will make sure you rot in prison for the rest of your miserable life. I will bury this story so deep, nobody will ever believe you, not to talk of raise you out of that cell. The morning sun crept in slowly through the thin window curtain, painting soft gold lines across the room. Chioma had already gone out to buy pap and akara. Farida was still lying down on the floor mattress, eyes open but unmoving. She hadn't slept that night. Not really. Her body had rested, yes, but her mind had walked 1,000 miles, asking, searching, rewinding, regretting. When Chioma returned, she placed the nylon on the table and sat beside her. Babe, I bought food though. Try and eat something. Farida sat up slowly. Her wrapper slipped from one shoulder. She didn't adjust it. Chioma, she said, her voice low. Chioma turned to her immediately. Yes, babe. What would you do if you were me? Chioma didn't rush to answer. She reached for Farida's hand. I don't know exactly what you're feeling, Farida, but I know one thing. You don't deserve what happened to you. None of it. Farida nodded slowly, then whispered, I'm pregnant. Chioma blinked. I know. Farida looked up startled. You do? Chioma smiled faintly. It's written all over you, Farida. The silence, the nausea, the shaking hands. She squeezed her hand tighter. What matters now is, what do you want to do? Farida was quiet. Then she asked softly, if I keep this baby, what kind of life would he have? Chioma didn't reply. Farida continued, what if he grows up asking who is my father and I don't know what to say? Tears filled her eyes. What if he hates me one day for bringing him into this world without a plan? Chioma reached for a tissue and wiped her tears gently. And what if, Farida whispered, that child becomes something great? Maybe a doctor, a president, a governor. What if he becomes everything I was never allowed to be? She looked down at her stomach. I don't want him to pay for my pain. I won't punish an innocent fool for what his father did. Then she took a deep breath, the kind that shakes your chest from the inside. I'll keep the baby. Chioma exhaled, then pulled her in for a hug. You're stronger than you know, babe. I don't feel strong at all. That's how strength hides sometimes, in quiet decisions like this. They stayed like that for a while. Two girls, no mothers in sight, no protector behind them, but still holding each other like blood. Later that afternoon, Farida washed her face, changed into a clean gown and ate something small. She picked her books and walked to class. Because even though her body carried a storm, her dreams were still alive, and so was her future. Farida stayed with Chioma through the final semester of their ND program. Her pregnancy still in her early months wasn't yet obvious. Her clothes were slightly looser now, and she avoided too much movement when possible. But most people didn't notice anything out of place. Only Chioma knew, and she protected that secret like her own life depended on it. Just finish strong, Chioma would whisper. Let nobody distract you. You will survive this. And she did. Farida woke up early each day, did her assignments, attended lectures, and passed her exams. She didn't speak much, but her eyes stayed focused. The pain was still there, especially at night, but she had something new in her heart now. She had discipline. She was fighting for her future. After their final exams, while other students were snapping pictures and planning graduation parties, Farida quietly packed her bag. She didn't wait for the results. She left campus with a plan. She was going to start afresh. Chioma knew, you don't have to go too far, she said softly. but I understand why you need to. Farida hugged her like a sister. Thank you so much, Choma, for everything. And then she left. Worry was nothing like Onitsha. It was noisy, hot, and full of unpredictable people. But for the first time in a long while, Farida felt like nobody knew her story, and that was a blessing. She stayed with Chioma's distant cousin who gave her a small room for a cheap price. The woman had no idea Farida was pregnant, and Farida didn't explain. Her baby bump was starting to show now, but with big tops and silence, she kept moving forward. Then something surprising happened. She applied for her industrial training placement at a small but growing logistics firm, and they accepted her. Not only that, they paid her 40,000 naira a month. She couldn't believe it. It wasn't riches, but it was more than she'd ever earned in her entire life. She worked like her heart depended on it, filing reports, answering calls, managing schedules, sometimes even dropping off goods for clients. Her boss was stern but professional. There were no inappropriate touching, no strange checkup calls at night, just work. For the first time in years, she exhaled. She found a clinic nearby and registered for antenatal care again, and started buying baby things, one item per week. A small cap, a wrapper, baby soap. Each time she placed something in her drawer, she would whisper, "We are getting ready, little one." She still cried some nights, but this time there were tears of healing. Farida had been with logistics company for a few months now. Despite her growing belly, she moved with purpose, balancing paperwork, answering calls, and ensuring deliveries went smoothly. Her pregnant state made her appear fragile, but her unwavering dedication to her work spoke volumes. It wasn't lost on her colleagues or the customers. One such customer, a woman in her mid-40s, noticed Farida every time she came to the office. At first, it was a casual glance, but the more she saw the young woman, the more intrigued she became. Farida wasn't just working hard, she was working smart. Every time she answered a call, her tone was confident, assertive. When she spoke to the drivers, it was with precision. There was a calm about her. Even though she must have been struggling with the pressure of both the job and her pregnancy, this woman had been a regular at the logistics company for months. She was a successful businesswoman who ran an NGO focused on helping abused and struggling women. It was something she was deeply passionate about, having gone through her own traumatic experiences in the past. When she saw Farida, something stirred inside her. The woman walked up to the front desk one afternoon, watching Farida from the corner of her eye. She noticed that Farida hadn't taken a break. Her small but round belly barely noticeable as she moved through the office like a whirlwind. "Excuse me, young lady," the woman called out gently as she approached Farida. Farida looked up, her eyes tired but warm. She stood quickly, almost instinctively. "How may I help you?" she asked, her voice steady. "You've been working so hard. It's so admirable," the woman said, studying Farida for a moment. "Are you doing okay? You look like you could use a break." Farida smiled faintly. "I'm fine, ma'am. I'm doing my job, and I also need the money." The woman nodded but wasn't convinced. She could see the fatigue in Farida's eyes, the way she was pushing through despite needing help. "Why don't you take a break for a moment?" she suggested, a soft smile tugging at her lips. "You've been doing great work, and you deserve a little rest." Farida hesitated for a moment, then shook her head. "Mama, I'll be fine. It's just a few more things I have to handle." The woman's eyes softened with empathy. She could see the pride in Farida's determination, but it was clear she needed someone to take notice. The woman returned to the office the next day, this time determined to speak with Farida again. She had done her research and found out that Farida was living alone, struggling to make ends meet and facing the challenges of pregnancy with no support system. It struck a chord deep within her. This was a girl in need of a break. She deserved better. After a few more casual exchanges, the woman decided it was time to take action. "Farida," she said gently one day, after their usual brief chat, "I've been watching you. You work harder than most people I know, and I admire that. But you also look like you're carrying a heavy load, both literally and figuratively." Farida felt the sudden sting of emotions she had buried for months. She had been too focused on getting through the day-to-day to stop and acknowledge how much she was struggling. "I'm fine, ma'am. I've got this," she replied, though she could barely hide the weariness in her voice. The woman took a step closer, lowering her voice so only Farida could hear. I run a foundation that helps women who have been through what you're going through. Women who have no voice, no support. I want to help you. I believe in you, but first, you have to let me help you. Farida blinked, stunned. She didn't know how to respond. Help? She had never had anyone offer help without expecting something in return. She had always been the one giving. But this woman, she looked different. Ma'am, I don't know what to say, Farida muttered, swallowing back the lump in her throat. Just say yes, the woman said softly. Let me help you. I want to see you succeed. You don't have to do this alone. The next few weeks were a blur of support. The woman who introduced herself as Mrs. Okoro helped Farida get medical care and a safe place to stay. Farida stopped work, but she never stopped assisting her and helping her in getting ready for her baby. In time, Farida gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The weight of motherhood was heavy, but the support she now had made it bearable. Miss Okoro took care of her medical bills and even helped her find a quiet place where she could focus while taking care of her baby. You don't have to be a victim of your circumstances, Farida, Miss Okoro would say whenever Farida felt down. You are strong. You have a future. Don't let anyone or anything take that away from you. Farida's life slowly transformed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living. One day, Miss Okoro made a proposition. Farida, I'm opening a new branch of the NGO abroad. I would love for you to work with me. You've been through so much and I think you can help others in the same position. But first, you need to finish your studies. I'll make sure you get the education you deserve. Farida was overwhelmed. She had always wanted to make something of herself, but never imagined this could be her reality. Thank you, Farida whispered, choking back tears. I don't know what to say. I never thought anyone could help me like this. You don't need to say anything, Miss Okoro replied. You've already done the hard part. Now, it's my turn to make sure you get where you need to be. A year later, Farida was not only working in Mrs. Okoro's NGO, but also helping other women who had been through similar experiences. She became a beacon of hope, someone who had been given a second chance and who used it to make a difference. She was no longer the broken girl who walked into that logistics office struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, after that incident, Pastor Tochi drove straight to Farida's house the next morning. He stood at the door with his collar open, knocking and muttering, "This girl, you must be mad! What nonsense is this? How can she think of getting pregnant, eh?" But as he stood at the gate knocking, a neighbor came out. She packed out last night though. She looked very angry when she was leaving. Tochi's chest tightened. He called her phone, it was switched off. He tried again the next morning, it was still off. He paced his office. He sent texts, no response. The silence from Farida ate at him, not because of guilt, but because for the first time someone had walked away without fear. She must be planning something, he muttered. She better remove that thing from her womb. But he couldn't reach her, and slowly, work began to pile up. At first, he managed, but without Farida's sharp eye and quiet efficiency, his systems began to fall apart. Court dates were missed, court files got mixed up, clients started complaining. Then came Eno. She heard about the vacancy through a family friend. One of the elders had casually announced in church, "Our pastor needs a secretary, somebody neat, sharp and trustworthy." Eno's auntie had called her. "There's a job with free accommodation in Onitsha. I don't know if you can come." Eno didn't think twice. She was just 19, but she was very smart. Her mother was sick and bedridden, and she had just finished secondary school with high grades and was hoping to further her education. She was hoping to be a lawyer, but life was hard. So when she heard about the opening in a law office, she was eager, grateful and obedient. This is a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, she told herself. The first 2 weeks were smooth, and arrived early to work, typed court processes quickly, kept the office clean. She wasn't as polished as Farida, but she learned very fast. And Tochi, he began his old ways again. He started giving sugar-laced compliments, touches that lasted too long, jokes with meanings beneath the words. At first, Eno just smiled awkwardly and shifted away. Then came the first warning. He brushed her breast one afternoon while pretending to reach for a file. Eno turned and said flatly, "Sir, I don't like that thing, no." He laughed. Don't be too stiff now. I was just playing with you. So I said you should not touch me again. Eno flinched and stepped back. Her voice was trembling but firm. "I will report you if you do." Pastor Tochi raised a brow and smirked. "Report me? As what? Who will believe you?" He chuckled, low and condescending. "I'll report you to the legal practitioners disciplinary committee." That name made him pause. Tochi's smile dropped just for a second. Something shifted in his eyes. Doubt. Then just as quickly, pride returned like heat after rain. "Small girl," he muttered, straightening his shirt. "Don't worry, you're still growing. You will understand life better soon." A week later, he resumed again. He would casually toss documents on the floor in his office and say, Eno, come. Please help me pick up these documents." And as the door bent down, his eyes would linger shamelessly on her bum bum. She always noticed. But as long as he didn't touch her, she said nothing. She told herself to just manage, stay quiet, survive. Until that night. It was around 8:13 p.m. and I had just finished washing her plate of rice. The generator outside the compound buzzed like a tired bee. The air was hot, heavy with silence. Then there was a knock. "Knock, knock, knock. Eno, are you there?" Pastor Tochi's voice thundered from the corridor. "Open up. This is urgent." She hesitated, her body stiffened. "Who is it?" she called out, already knowing the answer. "It's me. Open the door. There's this document I just found. The matter is coming up tomorrow and it's very important. I don't know how you missed it. Come and collect it so that you can work on it tonight." She didn't want to open the door. Every instinct in her screamed no. But her job, her sick mother, and the situation of things, maybe he was actually talking about a document. And so, she opened the door. He stepped in quickly, waving a plain file in his hand. "Take it, this is it," he said, walking past her without asking. Then he didn't even wait. Before she could process the file, his hand was already on her waist. "Sir, please, what are you doing?" she whispered, backing away. But he wasn't listening. And in that small living room, with her curtains drawn and the generator humming faintly outside, he assaulted her. That night, Eno sat on the floor, her face soaked with tears, her hands shaking. She clenched her fist. "I will deal with you," she whispered through gritted teeth. "I will report you. I will make sure you never stand on a pulpit again. You will never appear in court again." But earlier, as he zipped up and wiped his face with her curtain, he had laughed. "You think anyone will believe you? I'm a pastor and a lawyer. I will bury you, legally, spiritually, physically. You don't even know who you're dealing with." He walked out with swagger in his step, convinced that she would stay silent, convinced she was like the others. But Eno was not Farida. That same night, she took her phone. She typed, not just a letter, but a declaration of war. She documented every detail, every date, every inappropriate word, every look, every touch, every insult. She attached the voice recording she had secretly made that night when he tried to justify his behavior with spiritual nonsense. She sent one copy to the church board and the other copy to the legal practitioners disciplinary committee. A week later, the church hall was quiet, tense. 6 elders sat on the cushioned chairs, 3 men, 2 women. One young man in his 30s who had recently joined the board was with them. The door opened. Pastor Tochi walked in with swagger, his best abada swaying behind him like royal robes. He smiled. "Good evening, elders. God bless you." Nobody smiled back. They gestured for him to sit. The oldest elder cleared his throat. "Pastor Tochi, we received a report, a very serious one from your secretary." No. Tochi scoffed. I was wondering when people will bring this up." He sat comfortably, arms crossed. "Let me guess. She accused me of harassment, Abi? It's what women do these days. A man tries to help them. They bite the hands that feeds them." "Pastor," another elder said, "this is not a joking matter." "Oh, I'm not joking, no," he replied. I'm just disappointed that the church is entertaining this nonsense. That girl has issues. I even think she's mentally unstable. She probably has a crush. And when I did reciprocate, she flipped. The younger board member frowned. We read the letter, sir. It wasn't just an accusation. She attached proof. My brother, that thing is fabricated proof. Tochi waved. Voice notes can be edited. Even the devil can quote scriptures. You people should know now. You should not fall for this. Then the woman elder raised her voice. Let's play it for him to hear. Tochi's eyes narrowed. Play what? He asked. His voice suddenly less confident. The youngest elder brought out a phone, clicked play, and the room filled with his voice. You think anyone will believe you? I'm a pastor and a lawyer. I will bury you legally and spiritually. Her voice crying, his laughing. When it ended, the room was silent. Tochi's face had turned red. The eldest elder leaned forward, shaking his head. How could you act so shamefully when people hold you in such high esteem? Still, Tochi rose, trembling with anger. This is defamation, he barked. You have no right to judge me based on a recording. I will sue all of you. You call yourself spiritual leaders. You are fools, blind men, all of you. I will not bow to this nonsense. He stormed out of the room. But just before he reached the door, the quietest elder stood and spoke. His voice was calm yet heavy with warning. Pastor Tochi, if you walk out of this room without repentance, just know you will face terrible consequences from man and from God. Tochi didn't respond. He walked into his car, slammed the door. Inside his car, Pastor Tochi sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel like it owed him something. He hadn't driven himself in months. He usually backed others from the back seat while someone else handled the road. But not today, not after that insult from the church board. He had his head held high, chest up, anger buzzing in his ears. Nonsense! They think they can disgrace me? Me? A man of the clothes? A trained lawyer like myself? Then his driver said, Oga, will they go house? His driver asked cautiously. Tochi didn't answer. He waved the question away like a fly. Let me drive myself. You can go home, he told the driver as he stormed out. I need air. So he drove. Fast, angry, chest puffed up like a balloon. The rain had started again, light but steady. The wipers squeaked across the windshield like an old complaint. His vision was slightly blurred, but he didn't care. He was reciting his defense speech in his head. The devil is at work. I'm being persecuted like Paul. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. He didn't notice the truck ahead, swerving, trying to correct itself. Didn't hear the horn blasting 3 times. Didn't even brake on time. The crash was violent. 1 minute he was gripping the steering. The next, it was ripped out of his hands. The airbag exploded. Glass flew like needles into his eyes. Metal twisted and all went black. 2 days later, Tochi lay in the hospital bed. His eyes fluttered open, but there was nothing, just blackness. He panicked. Where am I? Where am I? He croaked. Why is it dark? A nurse rushed in. He's awake, call the doctor. He sat up but felt a weight. Both his legs were gone. Heavy bandages wrapped what used to be his knees. Jesus, what happened? The doctor walked in, quiet and tired. He glanced at the chart, then at the broken man on the bed. Sir, I need you to calm down. Tell me what happened. The doctor sighed. You were in a very serious road accident. You lost both legs from the knees down and your eyes. He hesitated. Josie's chest was heavy. What about my eyes? Your corneas were punctured by glass. You're permanently blind. The room went still. No one spoke. Tochi let out a sound, a strange half scream, half prayer. No, God, not me. I'm your servant. The nurse bowed her head. The doctor just looked away. Later that month, the news spread like wildfire. First murmurs, then whispers. In WhatsApp groups, full posts, screenshots, voice notes. Pastor Tochi was involved in a ghastly motor accident just hours after leaving the church board meeting. His legs are gone and he's now blind. You see this God, he does not sleep. That same week, another blow landed. A formal petition was filed against him at the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee and he was called. A copy of that letter was leaked online. A respected human rights lawyer even reposted it with the caption, "Let the system deal with wolves in collars." The church didn't stay silent either. They released a public statement, stern and cold. "We disassociate ourselves with Pastor Tochi. His actions are in direct contradiction to the teachings of Christ. We do not cover evil. Let this serve as a warning. Not everyone who says, 'Lord, Lord,' is sent by God." And then the street talk began. His wife couldn't step out without eyes following her. Whispers, sneakers, raised eyebrows, even at the market. "That's Tochi's wife. That man that called himself a pastor but couldn't control his pants. That's his wife." God finally caught up with him. Her friends became ashamed of her. The shame became a second skin. She cried at night. She stopped eating. And one day, she stopped trying. She came to the hospital. She didn't sit. She stood at the edge of his bed, arms folded, face hard. Tochi heard her foot. His heart skipped. He turned towards the sound. "Choma, Choma, please." Her voice cut through like a blade. "Tochi, you embarrassed me. You destroyed our name. You ruined our family." He tried to speak, but only a weak croak escaped his lips. She didn't let him finish. "I was your wife. I gave you everything. And you gave me shame. You think I will stay? You think I will nurse you while you rot in the mess you created?" She turned to leave and said, "I'm leaving. Oh, stay with your lies. Stay with your God." The door closed. He never heard her voice again from that day. Within 6 months of Farida's escape, Pastor Tochi had completely fallen. His name was poisoned. Clients vanished. Nobody wanted a blind lawyer with a scandal hanging over his head. His law firm shut down quietly. Staff resigned, and the landlord locked the office door. 6 months later, the hospital discharged him. A nurse volunteered to bring him home. She wheeled him to his house like luggage. No legs, no sight, no visitors. He returned to a quiet, dusty house. The curtains were shut. The fridge empty. There was silence. No calls, no "bless you, sir." Just the ticking of a wall clock and shame always sitting beside him. 5 years had passed since the incident. Farida had planned to visit Nigeria. She had been speaking to Chioma, who had insisted she would come to Onitsha whenever she comes to Nigeria. Chioma welcomed her with arms wide. "My baby girl is glowing. Oh, hey, abroad is good for your skin, sha." Farida laughed, or maybe healing is. They hugged tightly. For a whole day, it was laughter and small gist. Chioma was married now with a 3 months baby boy. They lived in a modest 3-bedroom apartment. It was neat and clean and even had a balcony which she converted to a garden. The next morning, they sat outside on the balcony. Chioma scrolled her phone and paused. "Ah!" Farida looked up. "What is it?" Chioma hesitated. "Promise me you won't let this thing spoil your mood down." Chioma. It was a blog post. Former pastor and lawyer Tochi spotted outside General Hospital after months of silence. There was a picture, blurry but clear enough. A wheelchair, a man with a graying beard, face turned towards the sun, though he couldn't see it. Farida said nothing. She stared for a long time, then gently returned the phone. They sat in silence. Farida didn't say a word. She stared at the photo for a long time. Then quietly handed the phone back. "Maybe I should visit him," she said at last. "Are you sure? I want to introduce my son to his father at least." And so, Farida went to visit Tochi. It was a Tuesday afternoon. The compound was quiet, overgrown grass, dusty chairs, a plastic basin turned upside down by the rain. The house that once held Bible study meetings and executive guests now stood silent, like a shrine where nobody prayed anymore. Farida knocked on the gate gently. The gate creaked open. The housekeeper stared at her, confused. "Who you dey find?" "I'm here to see Pastor Tochi." "You know they see visitors," the man said, "except family." Tell him Farida is here. Inside, the sitting room smelled like Dettol and dust. Curtains drawn, TV was off. The great man of God sat hunched in a wheelchair near the window. His eyes, now pale and empty, faced the wall. One hand rested on the chair's arm. The other shook slightly. He had not spoken to anyone all morning. He only muttered Bible verses to himself, broken ones, fragments. They that wait upon shall renew. Yea, though I walk through, though the shadow. He heard footsteps, then a voice, soft and familiar. Good afternoon, sir. His head jerked slightly. He froze. Farida! Farida, is that you? There was a silence. A long silence. He gripped the edge of the chair. Yes, she answered. He reached forward, groping the air. Is it really you? Yes, sir, it's me. He lowered his hand. Suddenly he looked smaller, not just blind but broken. You came to mock me? He asked. To see what's left of me? No. I came because I forgave you a long time ago. He swallowed. I know. You have every right to hate me. I don't hate you, sir, she said softly. Hate is heavy. I let go of it. To breathe. Tochi said nothing. Then the gloom grew heavier. Farida stepped forward and placed the envelope on the side table. I brought something for you. Is it a little money for your feeding? He turned his face away ashamed. Why are you doing this? She stood sore. Nothing, sir. Then he began to cry. Loudly like a child. Helpless sobs. The sound of a man who finally saw everything without eyes. Farida, he choked. I'm so sorry. I know. If I could go back, I will. But you can't, she said, her voice firmer now. You can't go back. She turned towards the door, but then paused. I brought your son. He blinked, face twisting. My what? Your son. I brought him. He's outside. He just wanted to see the man who fathered him. Tochi said nothing. He just wept, rocking slightly. He doesn't need anything from you, Farida added, but he will know your name and the truth. At the door, he called out one last time. Farida, please say something. Say something I can't remember. She stood at the threshold, hand resting on the frame, then said, some wounds never heal, but they teach. And she walked out. Outside, Farida took off her scarf, letting the late sun touch her face. Her son ran up to her and held her hand. She looked up at the sky, wide, open, bright, and whispered, it's done. The end. What a story. Farida's story is one of those stories that just sits with you because, let's be honest, things like this are happening around us every single day. You see a girl trying to survive, then you see a man in power taking advantage of her, and a society that would rather look away. How many Faridas do we know? Girls who are suffering in silence, working hard, staying strong, and still being taken for granted. And how many respected, praised men out there are doing terrible things behind closed doors, hiding behind titles, while leaving wounds that may never heal. This story is deep, actually. Not just because of the drama, but because it reflects real life. It's about betrayal, and also about healing, of course. It's about power, and also about rising from pain. And Farida, she didn't just survive. She took back her voice, her dignity, and even had the strength to forgive. That's power, man. So let me ask you, if Farida was your sister, how would you react to this entire scene? If you're in Farida's shoes, would you ever forgive? Do you think Farida's silence was weakness, or was she just a young girl doing her best to survive? Do we do enough to protect women from abuse in our society? I would like to hear our comments in the comment section. I really want to hear your thoughts. And please, if this story touched you in any way, like this video, share it, drop a comment, and make sure you subscribe to this channel for more stories like this one. And until next time, stay safe, stay true, and never be afraid to stand for what's right. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.